Ladies and gentlemen, this is a story of some really messed up stuff. I've tried to stay away from the Epstein files because back in 2020, I got deep into situations that were happening back then, such as, a food group and so forth and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't necessarily suggest going and reading the Epstein files because it is drastically disturbing. For instance, let's talk a little bit about just recently, yesterday? Reverend Jesse Jackson apparently died, 84. Okay, fine, so be it. Well, he's in those files, along with his son that is apparently running for office, again, are in those files. In the files, it states that Jesse Jackson Jr., when he got in trouble several years ago, one of the emails that is in the Epstein files was talking about him getting in trouble. And one of the questions was he in trouble for his father's past sins? That was in the Epstein file. What's more disturbing is that Alan Dershowitz, Alvin Bragg, Rikers Island, and this guy by the name of Cardinal Dolan, which all you idiots need to resign from your positions. Maybe the reason that recently it was said that, if all this stuff gets out, apparently Trump said that a lot of his friends, I would more or less say acquaintances at this point, are going to get hurt. Well, they've really deserved to get hurt. Like a lot. The stuff that is in the Epstein files is so disturbing. And the reason that they won't release pictures and videos of the extremely disturbing stuff, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put it to you this way. You see what is in the files in movies, and it sinks in your mind, that what you're seeing in these movies obviously isn't real. Well, the problem is what's inside the files is what you see in movies, but it is real life situations. It is extremely disturbing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a story of Alan Dershowitz. Like I've read through a lot of the deposition that he had to go through where he was talking, where he was being questioned about child pornography and so forth and so on, and the articles that he wrote or opinions, whatever, where it was supporting such attributes, which is freaking mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. And as I'm reading more and more stuff about all of this, it dawns on me that in Trump's first term, I think he knew a lot more than he was letting on. A lot. And I guarantee you, he 100% knows everything that has to do with everything that has to do with Epstein. And when it comes to Epstein, you got to ask yourself, this guy did all these things. He had this network. And more than likely, my opinion and my assumption is that another avenue of his network was the P. Diddy situation. I'll get into that later in a different video, but just keep that in mind that I've said it for a long time. One, follow the money. And everybody knows everybody. The Cardinal Dolan which is now, as of February 10th, 2026, appointed co-chief chaplain of the New York City Police Department. You need to resign, you creepy gun. Creepy. And I'm going to tell you why. Let's see here. I don't know, because it's all redacted. It is all redacted about who the person was that sent this email. I imagine I could probably try to figure it out. But this email was sent to Alvin Bragg, okay? And this email was sent apparently right after Alvin Bragg announced his run for Manhattan DA, blah, blah, blah. Well, the number one PAC that donated to Alvin Bragg's campaign, and keep in mind what he did to Trump and so forth and so on, was George Soros and the color whatever PAC. I don't even know what it's called right now because this stuff is so disturbing. So this email, as you're seeing, a lot of it's redacted, especially up top. But the bottom part isn't necessarily redacted. There are some redactions, so I don't know who the names are. But as you can see, this is information on Cyrus Vance, corruption in two very serious unreported matters. One matter having to do with covering up a Rikers bribe scheme perpetrated by Alan Dershowitz for one of his clients, Gigi Jordan. And the Gigi Jordan thing is so weird because she has a long list, had long lists of achievements. Like she was part of the United States doing weird stuff. Anyways, Gigi Jordan killed her 8-year-old son. Okay. This says the redaction where it says Mr., which would be Alvin Bragg. 100%. That is who this is. My name is such and such, redacted. I read that yourself and Miss Whatever and Miss Whatever are the assistant U.S. attorney assigned to Jeffrey Epstein's case, and that the case investigation is still continuing into Epstein's accomplices. Okay, well, the problem being with that is probably wasn't really being investigated at all because Alvin Bragg, his number one supporter would have been George Soros, or would be George Soros. This long email chain says, I have information about corruption cover-up of crimes by Cyrus Vance as a favor to powerful connected persons in two separate criminal matters. The information evidence I have on Vance corruption started in 2023 and goes through the present. The reason the information I have has never been reported is because when I sent an email to Manhattan ADA Gordon on May 19th, 2015 at 11:39, advising her that I plan to go to the New York Post with this evidence I have on Manhattan DA corruption cover-up. In this matter detailed below, 12 hours later, the NYPD showed up at this person's house and arrested me. Not me, her. I would assume it's her. I would assume it's her because of the simple fact that apparently this person must have been locked up on the same cell block as this Gigi Jordan person. The case was dismissed by a judge when I finally had enough. I sent the judge evidence of Manhattan DA corruption in this case, that the judge Dawson dismissed the case shortly thereafter. So as you can imagine, this has had very chilling effect and cause fear on my willingness to come forward and suffer further arrest retaliation by Vance's office. One matter involves Vance collusion with Cardinal Dolan to cover up $1 million embezzlement and child abuse by a certain priest. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this person's name because you can see it right here. The second matter cover up by Vance involves a huge Rikers bribe scheme perpetrated by one of Vance's high-profile defendants, Gigi Jordan, the millionaire that killed her 8-year-old kid. During her time at Rikers awaiting trial, Rikers bribe scheme by Gigi Jordan was from 2010 to 2015 and literally involved the entire jail. That's crazy. The person on the receiving end of the bribe was Norman Seabrook, who is apparently found guilty of whatever this person might have been talking about or maybe previous bribes. I have evidence that Vance knew about it and covered it up as favor to Norman Seabrook in 2015. Gigi Jordan's lawyer was Alan Dershowitz, and Dershowitz joined Gigi's defense team literally a few months after the infamous Alan Dershowitz client Jeffrey Epstein court hearing in in 2011. When our DA, Cyrus Vance, ordered his sex crime unit chief show up to court to implore the Epstein judge to downgrade Epstein to level 1 sex offender. Wow. I have a CEO contact that has information, names of CEOs who are witnesses to Gigi Jordan's lawyer Alan Dershowitz actively being involved in the actual crime of Rikers bribe. I am just going to include a quick summary of facts and events below. I have email records and recordings with various officials in Vance's office, and I have documents spanning 5 years, both on the Gigi Jordan bribe cover-up and Cardinal Dolan cover-up. Just an example, I have incriminating emails and recordings with 4 of Vance's bureau directors, Vance's financial crimes unit, and recording of state police investigators who admit to me on the record, on a recorded line, that Vance's office ordered him to not investigate and squash any investigations, arrests for whatever that guy's name is, who is now in jail, of $1 million embezzlement and child abuse. As you can imagine, I have gone to all levels of city government, including DONI in 2015 and 16, while still under Commissioner Mark Peters. And Mark Peters ordered the investigation into all of this squashed. Well, maybe Mark Peters was on Epstein's payroll or George Soros's payroll or whatever. I have gasoline emails and recordings with DOI all the way up to Mark Peters' departure in 2018. The information below is corruption by Cyrus Vance as pertains to Vance colluding with New York Archdiocese to cover up and protect certain priests as favor to Cardinal Dolan. What a creep. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to kind of have the screen recorder record this, and you can read it because it's quite lengthy. But the problem is that, hold on, let's read a little bit more. If you do remember the story from reading it, you probably thought to yourself, there must be some much more to this. Boy, is there ever. The priest and redacted are being protected by Cardinal Dolan, who has has full knowledge of everything, but covered it up, cooked the books, etc. because whatever this guy's name is, and Redacted have major blackmail on New York Archdiocese and the Vatican. Below is an investigative report which will give you some idea of what the blackmail is. I wish I could see that report. Vance's office knows all this and covered it up. I have time-stamped emails providing Vance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is within the email, the files of Epstein. And it just makes you wonder, why is this in the files of Epstein? And the weird thing is there's like FBI reports of what like the president was being briefed on every morning and so forth and so on. I've looked into certain aspects of high-ranking military folk that apparently was friends with on the payroll of Epstein. I mean, dude, this whole Epstein file crap is ridiculous. And I've literally put it off for several days. You know, pretty much I started looking into it when the second round of whatever started happening. And man, it's just absolutely amazing to see the corruption within the network of all these people that were involved. These people need to be held accountable. And Alan Dershowitz, you're a creep. Absolute creep. And it kind of jogs my memory that all of a sudden, I don't really think I've seen you very much on TV at all. Maybe the people in the networks know that what you were trying to say a year ago, 6 months, 2 years, whatever, how many years ago it was, months, whatever, that you're not implemented in it. And let me tell you, when the condo people that you lived with in Miami started calling you a pervert, boy, oh boy, that really pissed you off, huh? I literally read that in your transcript of your deposition. And wow, that's freaking nuts. Man, ladies and gentlemen, this stuff is messed up, man. I'm just going to let this scroll down here so you guys can kind of read it or whatever you want to do with it. But ladies and gentlemen, when you have the Vatican implemented, Cardinal Dolan, all these people, and then this person that emails Alvin Bragg obviously didn't have any idea what Alvin Bragg was all about and who his actual money backer is, because of the simple fact that, you know, George Soros, apparently, from what I can tell, was pretty good friends with Epstein. The shit's creepy, man. I mean, it is ridiculously creepy, and it mind boggles. And this Gigi Jordan, she was a pharmaceutical rep or, you know, something high up. She had many classifications as a doctor, and it's mind-boggling. I mean, it's so, I can't even think of the words to put it into perspective of how completely effed this whole situation really is. And I mean to tell you what, it is sickening. I personally do not want to, but need to, so I can bring it to you guys, go through these stupid files. And I say stupid because it's horrible. Just think of everything that you've seen in movies, whether you're a horror flick film person, action, everything that you see in movies that you know is not real. Put that in perspective of what is within the Epstein files, because that is real. 100% satanic, horrible, ass backwards stuff. And it is really, really, really bad. But hey, Alan Dershowitz sworn up and down in 24, whenever it started coming out that, you know, people were trying to sue him for for, sexual abuse and this and that and so forth and so on. Well, lo and behold, I would just have to say that might be real. And if you hear the tippy tap in the background, that would be my dog Duke. He loves to tap dance all the time. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't necessarily suggest that you go look at the Epstein files, because it will make your stomach turn, whatever, because it's real. These people were sick, and the people that are still part of this that have not been held accountable 100% need to be held accountable, and it needs to be public as public can be. 100%. These people are disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Remember, follow the money, and everybody knows everybody throughout the world. It's not just here in America. It is not just here in the United States of America. It is everywhere. And everyone knew everyone. Do not forget that fact. See you next time. It's disgusting. It's horrible. I mean, words don't even put it into perspective, ladies and gentlemen.
Food supplies have been completely wiped out. We have a evacuation of all counties. I report complete devastation. We have a giant squall, cloud, gobbling up everything in the path. Total loss of life.
There are forces in this world that remind us of how fragile we are. We thought we were safe. We thought it could never happen to us. Then life like a fog descends upon us, blanketing our memories. Through the haze, we travel its hidden paths, lost in its secret places. And when the storm, turbulent and immovable, forces us to shelter, we remember. It calls to us, calls us back. Back to the ports and the harbors of our past. We fight the currents that pull and drag us off course, not a light or star to chart the way. And when we arrive, we don't always know it at first, the places we once loved guised by time. Then we see it, the place we've been trying to get back to. Safe at last, we've found our way home.